This is an important topic, and I feel like we could spend an entire day talking about this. I just as a follow up to both of your answers, I would love to hear from your perspective. What do you think are the biggest gaps or most urgent areas of need in terms of improving on that patient centered approach to designing clinical trials and research that's going on right now?
I mean, it would be great if there was an easy way to access clinical trial information. I mean, I know that's talked about a lot, but it seems like, a lot of it is just very ad hoc. If you happen to be, someone who joins an advocacy group, geared towards your type of lung cancer, you can get that information. If you happen to be at certain hospitals with certain clinicians, you can get that information. But otherwise, it's just really difficult. And this goes back to the whole, access issue. Only now I'm talking about, clinical trial diversity as opposed to biomarkers. I mean, how do we get, that clinical trial information of what's available out to everyone and people in the community and in an understandable way. And clinicaltrials.gov isn't really that. And even if you can figure out things through that, it's hard, it's not real time. So by the time you try to get, information about a specific arm of a trial, it might already be closed, at least for the cohort you need to try to join. So it just needs to be simplified as much as possible. And, I mean, I have to tell you, there are people in our group, in the EGFR resistors group, who would love to join clinical trials. And I hear more often that, someone wanted to be in a clinical trial and was, ended up either being deemed not eligible or the trial arm closed or, something happened where they couldn't get in it, than hearing someone who doesn't want to be part of a clinical trial at all. So, there has to be some way to kind of match that up because, there's really motivated patients who want to try these new drugs. And then there's, all the investigators who want to get their clinical trials accrued, but somehow that's not lining up. So that's something that we really need to work on improving.
Thanks. And I'll add to, in thinking about clinical trials and priorities, there's kind of the mention, Ivy's whole talk about including research advocates and including the patient perspective in clinical trial design is critical. I think just historically, the way that clinical trials have been designed is to show drug efficacy without, it's like, makes sense, it's logical, that's how, that's the primary input. And I think we can do better. We can include patient perspectives on what are the most important outcomes to people who are living with cancer. And I think, we're moving in that direction by including more kind of PRO assessment. And I think there have been exciting advances in kind of making clinical trial delivery more patient-centered and bringing it to patients. And that happened as a function of the pandemic and maybe are shifting a little bit. But even things like inclusion criteria, making them be so that they reflect a more real-world population, all of these things, like a shift from thinking about kind of how to get the drug approved and prove its efficacy to how to enhance and improve the lives of people and kind of what's important to them and how to make it accessible to people to participate so that then that information can translate into the care of everyone living with cancer. And so I would say that would be the priority, is having a patient-centered view kind of throughout the whole spectrum of drug development, and because that then affects clinical practice.